Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Elevated Beauty Podcast. Today's episode is going to be about SPF, the truth. So we're going to be talking about what SPF is, how does it work, why do we need it, and some misconceptions. I just see way too much people that are not understanding SPF, they're not applying it properly, and there's just so much misinformation surrounding it. The people just overall, they don't understand the importance of it. So I'm going to tell you guys the truth about it. It's not opinion, it's facts. If you are an esthetician, you guys know how important SPF is. If you're not an esthetician, definitely continue listening because I'm going to give you guys the lowdown on why you need it, and it will make you want to reapply. So I'm not even going to lie, guys. When I was 18, 19, when I was young, I did not wear SPF because I had like an olive skin tone and I didn't burn super easily, which that's the only thing you have to worry about with sun damage. But I don't know. I was never given information by my parents. It just wasn't common. And where I grew up, it was desirable to have a tan. And if you burned a little bit, it was fine because it would turn into a tan, which is horrible. But yeah, I didn't understand the importance of it, why we needed it, how it protected my skin until after I went to aesthetic school. So I know young people definitely, you're ignorant, you just don't know, you don't have that knowledge. But it's never too late to start. With that being said, I do see many clients up in age in their 40s, 50s, 60s that don't wear SPF and haven't. And, once you reach a certain age, a lot of people are very complacent at that point in their life and they don't want to hear anything else because I'm not trying to generalize, but in my experience, they're like, oh, I've lived this long, but you might have skin cancer. It's just undetected. But yeah, and then people who say, oh, I have SPF in my foundation, I'm good. No, that's not good enough. And the reason that the SPF in your foundation is not good enough is because it's not giving you a solid coverage. If it's mixed in with anything else, those particles are going to kind of be scattered a little bit. And then also, you're not reapplying your foundation every 2 hours either. So with SPF, ideally, you want to reapply it every 2 hours. If you are going to be near a window, even if you work from indoors, if you work from home, a lot of people don't wear SPF either because they don't understand the importance. But you likely are not working in a dark basement. You are working near a window. And if you're getting any natural light, you're being affected by UV rays. So just like if you have an indoor plant, the UV rays that your indoor plant gets from the sunlight coming through the window is enough to help it create photosynthesis and things like that. And the UV rays that are coming through your window are enough to affect your skin. Driving in the car, also, you don't just have to be outside gardening, hiking on the beach to wear SPF. You should be making it a daily habit, not only to create some consistency, but a daily habit because every day in your life you are getting affected by UV rays. We're going to start off with what is SPF. SPF stands for sun protection factor. So we have SPF 15, SPF 30, SPF 50, and every different number, this is okay, I don't really pay attention to the numbers too much. I try to do above 15, 30 to 50 is the sweet spot range. So say you have an SPF 30. So if you put that on, in theory, it's supposed to take you 30 times longer to accumulate sun damage than you would without the sunscreen. So if you're outside for 10 minutes, ideally, or theoretically at least, is supposed to protect you for 30 times longer, which we know is not true. Because if that were true, then you would apply SPF 30 and it would take you 5 hours until you burn, which is absolutely not true. So don't pay attention to the numbers in that way. But just by a rule of thumb, 15 is the lowest form really that you'll find. But the reason I love anywhere from 15 to 50 is because the higher you go with your sun protection factor, so let's say if it's 120, SPF 120, it's actually slightly less effective. So anywhere in that range of like 20 to 50 is my preferred number. And you want to reapply it every 2 hours. A reason you want to reapply it every 2 hours is because we sweat. Our skin excretes natural oils. We touch our face, we touch our body. Like, that sunscreen is going to rub off. So we want to make sure that that coverage is lasting. And there's a couple different ways you can reapply. If you do wear makeup, they have compacts where Skin Better Compact is a really popular one I'm aware of. Then there's Color Science, where it's like this little brush that has powder in it. If you're not someone who wears powder, like myself, I would just put a little bit of concealer on and use my tinted SPF. I can easily just reapply my SPF straight on my face. So besides that, there are some sprays like a facial mist, which offers a little less coverage than a powder compact or your actual SPF moisturizer would. But nonetheless, like, whatever way you decide to reapply is going to be better than not reapplying. And I always tell people, I don't care what type of SPF you use, as long as you like the way it feels, you like the way it looks. That's what's important, because that's how you know you'll reapply it if you like it. If you don't like the way an SPF feels, you're less likely to reapply it and use it. So that's what's most important to me. There are a couple different types of SPF. We have mineral/physical, and then we have chemical, and then we also have hybrid. I prefer for myself, for my face, actually for anyone's face, I prefer mineral or physical. Those are just interchangeable terms, which is zinc oxide or titanium dioxide. So those are the mineral ingredients that offer the sun protection factor. And the reason I prefer that for a face SPF for most people is because it is less likely to cause irritation around the eye. Of course, whenever we apply creams around our orbital bone, like, it travels, it could potentially irritate your eye, especially for babies. You don't want to use a chemical SPF. So for babies and for faces, I love mineral. If you are someone with a darker Fitzpatrick type, mineral/physical sunscreen is known to leave a white cast. There are, however, some brands that have a really great formulation. I know Color Science has a good range in their tinted options. And then you could even do a hybrid. But I know a lot of people with darker Fitzpatricks don't even wear sunscreen because in the past they have experienced that white cast, and maybe they don't know why. They think that's just like all sunscreen in general, but it's not. It's because it's mineral. And so what you need is a chemical SPF or a hybrid or a really great formulation that has that pigment to counteract the white cast. And so these two types of SPFs do also work differently. So the mineral physical SPF, the way it works is it sits on top of your skin and it reflects the sun's rays like a mirror. And it works immediately when you put it on. It doesn't have to absorb into your skin for it to work. Like we mentioned, it is less irritating. Whereas chemical SPF, although you don't get that white cast, it is known to be potentially more irritating, especially if it gets into the eye. excuse me. And then the way it works, chemical SPF does have to absorb into your skin, so you need to apply it 15 minutes before your sun exposure. And once it's absorbed into your skin, what it does is it transfers the sun's rays into heat and scatters them, if that makes sense. And not only does SPF prevent you from burning, but it also prevents against cellular degradation. And I'll explain that a little bit more. So we have two different types of rays, UVA and UVB. You can recognize their effects by UVB stands for UV burning and UVA stands for UV aging. So obviously UVB burning rays, they are going to cause the sunburn. And they have a shorter wavelength, so they don't penetrate into the super deep levels of our skin, but they penetrate a little more surface level, causing that burn. And every time you do get a burn, it does increase your risk of skin cancers. If you are a darker skin type, you may not experience that actual burn, but you may tan, and that is still cellular damage. A tan is effectively still damage, because what's happening is the melanin in your skin is like going into hyper mode because it's the skin's natural defense mechanism, but they're damaging themselves, creating that pigment to try to protect the skin. And then the UVA rays, the ultraviolet aging rays, are longer wavelengths, so they penetrate into the deeper layers of our skin, and these rays are responsible for most skin cancers. So this does not cause damage that you can see with the naked eye until way later, until it's too late, until you're 40 years old, and boom, you have all of these age spots. Your skin is like wrinkling and thin, and maybe you have skin cancer now. So it's breaking down your skin cells and damaging your DNA in that deeper layer that's not visible currently. And that's really what I try to translate to a lot of people is like, forget the burning. Like, let's worry about the cellular damage that's happening. That's what we want to prevent. Duh, like you don't want to get a burn, but that's not the sole reason that we use SPF. And another thing is, a lot of people, they don't wear body SPF unless they are going swimming or something like that. And if you don't like to wear body SPF, which you just start to make it a habit. Just find one that you like that's not greasy. It's all about trial and error. It's all about finding something that you like. But on another note, besides the application of SPF, one of the best ways that you can protect your body is with clothing. So if you're going to be outside, like doing yard work or something, put on a light, breathable, long sleeve shirt. And that is really the best form of sun protection that you can use. You can also do a wide brimmed hat. That's personally what I do. And I don't know, it's something that you kind of have to get used to. Like, a baseball cap really isn't going to provide much. Like, it'll protect the forehead, but then the sides of your face are uncovered. So no, I don't go around town wearing a wide brimmed hat all the time, but if I'm going to be outdoors or if I'm going to be, swimming or something, I'll wear one. So we kind of touched everything, like what is SPF, how does it work, why do we need it? And I'm going to go over a little bit more of misconceptions. Again, like once you learn that there are different types, we have mineral, physical, and then we have chemical. Chemical is the one that usually has that signature like sunscreen smell. And that's something that I hear from people a lot of the time that are like older in age, and they never grew up knowing much about the skin or knowing about SPF. But I always hear like, I don't like the smell of it, that's why I don't wear it. And of course, that's like, I'm not trying to judge, but guys know that I'm just honest. It's such a childish thing, such a childish idea. But honestly, that signature SPF smell is chemical. So if that is something that is deterring you, is that smell, because, I do understand some people are sensitive to smell and it can be something that actually makes people nauseous. So use a mineral/physical SPF because it does not have that smell that you're probably thinking about. Now, this one, I don't see it a lot, but when I do see it, I'm like, why? Like, why are you guys believing this? Like, why? So, some people think that like coconut oil or carrot seed oil, there's like natural options to SPF, which is kind of funny because mineral physical SPF, mineral zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, those are natural minerals. So when someone is like, I only use natural SPF, it's a carrot seed oil, like that probably has a sun protection factor of like 3. And it's not effective. It's not protecting your skin from the UVA rays or UVB rays effectively. And people think that sunscreen is toxic, which again, mineral physical SPF, it comes from natural minerals, zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. So I don't know where that misconception and that false narrative is coming from besides chemical SPF. So there are many different types of chemical SPF. We have octinoxate, oxybenzone, avobenzone, a few others, and some of them are harmful to marine life. So if you go swimming somewhere like maybe Hawaii, I guess SPF that has oxybenzone in it is kind of like prohibited. I read that somewhere. I don't know if it's true that it's actually prohibited, but it is true that it has shown that it is harmful to marine life. So, and then we know about carcinogens. So carcinogens are potentially cancer-causing chemicals. But something important to note is like, okay, so there are carcinogens existing in almost everything, which if you are keeping track of that and trying to live your healthiest life, you obviously want to avoid as many carcinogens as possible. So for me, I don't use a lot of like household sprays that aren't like quote unquote natural, that aren't made with like more natural ingredients, like tea tree oil or lemongrass or vinegar. So I try not to use a lot of bleach and things like that because those are known carcinogenic chemicals. But there are many things in skincare. Of course, they all are tested. Everything is tested these days, so we have the data on it. And whenever something is known to be carcinogenic, when they do the test, it's like it would take you, for some of these ingredients, not all, but there are some, so it would take you like 2 lifetimes of use of this ingredient for it to give you enough carcinogenic effects to actually cause the cancer. So it's in such a small amount that it will never cause you cancer in your lifetime. But I do understand wanting to stay away from as many carcinogenic ingredients as possible. And that's kind of what I try to do. That's why I don't retail chemical SPF, but I'm not a hater of it. I use it in the summertime on my family's body. And I don't retail ingredients with hydroquinone in it because that is also a known carcinogen. And even though, again, like hydroquinone has its limits, like you're only supposed to use it 3 months on, and then you would do it like 3 months off or something like that. It's just not an ingredient that I'm a fan of. So it's all about personal choice. But yeah, so with chemical SPF, I understand that influence there, but it's not going to cause you cancer by applying it because it's in such a small amount that you would never get cancer in this lifetime from using a chemical SPF. So that's just something important to note, that it's not harmful. It's more harmful to go unprotected and get damaged by the UV rays. Lastly, I want to tell you guys some of my favorite SPFs. Of course, like for the face, Tizo is my favorite, is what I retail. I also retail the Lyra Clinical Solar Shield Oil Free. They have an oil-free, hydrating, and a tinted option. And I've only tried the tinted option and the oil-free. So the oil-free is like velvety matte texture, which is great for people that don't want that dewiness and hydration, which I love. But I understand if you are an oily skin type, that's something that you kind of want to suppress. So that's why I carry that. And then Tizo, I carry the zinc, or is it Ultra Zinc? I think it's called Ultra Zinc Face and Body tinted, and then the Ultra Zinc Face and Body non-tinted. They have such a sheer, like, hydrating finish, and I wear the tinted one every day. I also like to use the non-tinted one, like, on my hands and on my chest, because if I wear the tinted one on my chest and then, like, maybe it'll get on my shirt sometimes. So yeah, for the body, obviously I don't like a tinted option, but Tizo, Ride or Die, they're my favorites. They actually came out with a new type of tinted SPF, and I can't wait to try it. But those are my current favorites, and they're all zinc oxide dominant. SPF 40. I think the Lyra one is an SPF 30, which again, that's okay. And for the body, I'm not as picky. I literally will go to Walmart and get the Equate mineral one for my family. I more so did that when my daughter was really young because I knew she needed a mineral SPF, and then we would all just use it. But these days, I am getting a hybrid SPF for the family so that it doesn't leave like that white cast on our body. And my daughter's 4 now, so she's old enough that chemical SPF is not going to be as sensitive to her baby skin, because whenever babies are, when they're babies, their skin is really, really sensitive and reactive. So chemical SPF isn't something you want to put on. You're actually not supposed to put SPF on babies that are younger than 6 months old. But if you are going to have your baby outside, it is better to put a mineral SPF on them than leave them completely unprotected. Just note that. And then also, if you're going to be like near water, I'm speaking from experience here, because when my daughter was 3 months old, we went on a camping trip and we were sitting under a shaded tree next to a lake, and she got sunburnt on one side of her because of the reflection from the water. So if you're near water with your young baby, just be aware that they're gonna still get a sunburn from the reflection of that water. So do bring a mineral SPF with you. And my doctor did tell me this, like, even if they're younger than 6 months, if they're gonna be slightly exposed, put that on them, because that's safer than them getting a sunburn. So that's it, guys. I hope you learned something new, and I hope this inspired you to wear your SPF more frequently. We all have probably seen, all of us estheticians have seen Hugh Jackman speak on the subject, because he had basal cell, and then he just got another biopsy done, and it's been going viral. So I'm glad that is a celebrity that's bringing more awareness to it. Of course, us in the aesthetic community, we're always like trying to bring awareness, but it's really nice when a public figure is also bringing awareness to this, because everyone's obsessed. I feel like less now than it was when I was a teenager. People were really obsessed with tanning, and they would actually use tanning accelerants rather than SPF. So if you do love a tanned look, that's okay, but pretty please save your skin, save your health, and get spray tanned or do like a fake tan. They have so many options these days that are like green based or red based, and yeah, there's so many options. They don't make you look like a Oompa Loompa like they probably did back in the day, also speaking from experience, but it's not worth it, guys. But anyways, I will see you next Monday, 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, for another episode.